Hi, welcome to the Hall Podcast, episode 3. Today I have with me Lisa Peterse, and we're going to talk pension. Hello.
Hi everyone.
So this is our first attempt at the podcast here, you and I, so just be relaxed, and I have a list of questions that I've written down for you. So maybe tell me, how long have you been with the 170 pension for?
I have worked with the benefit plan since 1994 and kind of started out as a temp position, which over the years led to health and welfare and pension, and now in the position of administrator.
Yeah, so you've been here probably longer than anybody. So things have changed quite a bit over the years. I guess you've seen all kinds of different things when it comes to member requests and changes to different things. How do you like the role as administrator?
It's great. I mean, I've been lucky to have a lot of mentors over the years, worked with different administrators, different colleagues that I've worked with that, lots of experience, and I really enjoy it. It's changing legislation and Income Tax Act and CRA regulations, so it's always interesting for sure.
Yeah, we certainly see a lot of change all the time, don't we? So I know as a trustee, the education that we have to take is pretty intense. It's pretty detailed, and luckily we have staff that supports us in that.
Sure.
So let's talk about the pension plan. So I guess it derives out of the collective agreement originally.
Right.
What's the current rate of?
$5.25 an hour.
Right. So for every hour anybody works, this is the ICI CLR standard agreement. For every hour everybody works, there's $5.25 put into their pension plan.
Right.
So what does that mean for somebody that doesn't really know anything about pensions?
So when we receive those contributions, so anytime a member goes out to work on a monthly basis, the following month after they work, their employer sends us the contributions. So we enter those contributions into each and every member's hour bank. So if the employer pays the $5.25 rate, which is the local 170 rate, those hours go into their hour bank and start building their pension. So for each hour credited, it's multiplied by 0.0456.
That's what we call the multiplier.
And that calculates into the monthly benefit.
Okay, so I started my apprenticeship back in 1990. So at that time, there used to be something called vesting.
Correct.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but was it 10 years at one time?
Over the years from the 70s, I mean, it used to be 15 years with, 300 hours worked in each year. Then it went to 10 years. And back in 2015, the amendments were made to the Pension Standards Act. So it went from 2 years, and then 2015, it went to there's no vesting requirement. So as soon as you go to work, those hours come in and you're accounted for that you're going to have a pension when you retire.
Okay, so things are fairly busy in the industry right now, and we have a lot of new members. So whereas in the past, a member would have had to work all of these hours to get any credit, now a new member is protected by law, and the first hour they work in the union, they get pension credit.
Yeah, and it's evaluated every 3 years by our actuary, so we're including those people in the calculation that in the future they'll have a benefit paid to them.
Okay, so you use the word actuary. So what is the actuary? What do they do?
Actuaries, so say every 3 years, will do evaluation of the plan. So they'll look at all the membership, the investments, and look at what the future looks like for payouts, the members that are on pension, how do they get that trust fund to pay out all these future payments?
Yeah, they use things like the mortality table.
Assumptions.
And, they assume so many people are going to pass away, so many people are going to live, so many people
Interest
are going to...
rates.
Yeah, so that must be a difficult job these days with all this happening and changing in the world. So I think a big concern for people, members that come into the plan, or maybe even people that aren't in the plan, really what it is for me, it's deferred income.
Right.
So income that we've been able, our predecessors have been able to negotiate into the collective agreement. We're taking that income and we're putting it aside for later. So you'll hear from those that don't know, well, how do I know there's going to be any money there for me, right? Because
Right.
they hear what they hear in the lunchroom, and there's not going to be any money. So maybe how would you comfort somebody that maybe hears that kind of stuff in the lunchroom and doesn't understand how it really works?
I think in a multi-employer situation like ours, there's say 100, 150 employers within Local 170. So all these members are working, and all those funds and contributions strengthen the trust fund. So when the valuation is done, the actuary looks at all of those assumptions, the ages of people, how much is going to be paid out, and if there is a deficit there, then that's where adjustments have to be made.
So I guess a comparison would be like, if it's not like working for GM. If GM goes bust, the pension plan's in trouble.
Right.
The odds of 150 employers going out of business is pretty rare, right?
That's right.
So where does my 525 go once it's contributed? So I go and I work the hours. The 15th day of the following month, the money comes in, like you explained.
Right.
Then it comes into your office, and then what happens to the money?
Yep, that money goes directly at the month end, goes directly into the trust fund. So within the trust fund, there's investments, there's the monthly payouts to all the retirees and the widows and beneficiaries. So all that money is invested that's left over to continue to strengthen the trust. So when you do go to retire, that money's there for you when you retire.
Right, and that's protected by law, correct?
Correct.
Do you know the specific? I can't quote it. So what's the law that protects us there? It's Pension Standards Act, I guess.
Yep,
Yeah.
BC Pension Standards.
BC Pension Standards. So it's provincial.
Yep, we also have, there's a trustee act, there's a governance policy, there's a investment policy. There's layered, it's like an onion. It's layered into.
Yeah, for example, when we, as trustees, we sit down and we look at investments, we have a mix, right?
Right.
So I'll use one of our investments. It's pretty much common knowledge. I'm not divulging anything here. Concert Properties, right?
Right.
They're a Vancouver-based construction company, builds all union construction, uses all union trades. Been a great investment for us.
For sure.
It would be a good example of how money compounds itself, right?
And like the saying goes, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
So when you have situations with recession or an unknown coronavirus that comes in and the markets react a certain way, and some things everything's protected that way, where it's the actuaries look at that. It was
quite interesting to see that it didn't affect the pension plan that much. The coronavirus and what happened, it was very stable throughout that period. In fact, we did very well.
Yeah, and I think that's the part of having investment managers and the actuaries. They're doing the performance measurements on the plan constantly. So when things like that happen, they're essentially ready for it. So we're not jeopardizing people's pensions. And
so, I guess it's a good idea to put money in the pension every once in a while. We haven't added any to the collective agreement in some time. Cost of living in British Columbia. We're anticipating in this next collective agreement that we'll be putting some money in, but it's not just those. Those cents and dollars that we put in. It's also the performance of the investments, right?
correct.
So one of the things we have in the UA is a travel card system. So currently, right now, we have a lot of travelers in here.
Yes.
So how does it work if I go and work in 496 in Calgary or 488 in Edmonton, and we all have different collective agreements and different rates? How does that work?
So when we have travel cards come in through Local 170, those hours come in on the employer reports with all the other members. And at month end, we send those contributions back to their home local, and it's paid to them at the rate it was paid. So depending on what their home local contribution rate is, like I believe 488, if they have a higher contribution rate, probably when those hours go back there, they're going to reduce down. But if they're going to their home local has a lower contribution rate, when those hours convert back there, they're going to go up.
Right.
and they'll
Okay,
get
so
credit for more.
it's pretty much a 1-for-1 ratio. It's whatever the rate is at home, whatever their
Whatever it's paid
multiplier
at.
is, and whatever
Yep.
credit they get, they'll get the same. So that reciprocal works really well, I guess, then across the country. I know it's something they didn't have in the United States until 2016. We refer to it as the money follows the man.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good system. So now that I'm getting older, when should not me specifically, but when should I start thinking about retirement? I mean, we have other scenarios and different collective agreements where they have a little bit more flexibility than the pension plan. The pension plan was explained to me as an insurance policy. I like to think of it that way because it's deferred income.
Right.
So, what are my options with this 525 or whatever the amount in the agreement is? What are my options with this money?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, every annually we send out what's called a pension statement. So that's going to show you exactly the contributions that came in for you during the year, added up with contributions you've had in the past, and it's going to give you what your monthly amount is and what your credited years of service is. So within our plan, a member can retire at age 62 with at least 15 years of credited service. So I always recommend always check your annual statement to make sure that we've received all the hours that you worked is always a good idea. And, someone can always phone our office as well, ask us what's my pension at? What do you anticipate I'm going to be getting, say if I do retire at age 62? And you should give that a lot of thought in advance too.
And I guess it's true to say that everyone's pension is different because everybody's hours are different, everybody's work situation is different, everybody's personal situation is different. So, so 62 with credited years of service. What if I want to leave early?
Yeah, you can retire with a monthly benefit anytime after age 55.
Okay.
But it's reduced. So age 62 is the first time it's unreduced. And then you're given options for joint and survivor options if you have a spouse. If you have a spouse, the pension is a family asset. So you have to leave her or him at least 60% as a widow's benefit. But anything less than that, then they can waive their entitlement. So maybe the spouse has investments or a pension of their own. And
so that's something that members need to come in and talk to you guys about, and you guys can explain the different options, right? And a lot of this information you guys have on your website as well, right?
We do. Yeah.
So it is a personal choice on the option that they take, right?
Right.
Other than if you have been divorced, like you said, there's rules about what you can do. You can't just take it all or not take it all or whatever. So that's good to know.
And the pension is also covered under the Family Law Act. So in a situation where someone is divorced, the plan only gets involved when the plan is specifically named in their court order or separation agreement.
Right.
So in those cases, then the plan actually divides the pension and would pay each person separately.
Right. So you're going to cut 2 checks for 2 people off of 1 pension.
Right.
Right. And it's from my personal recollection, I think it's for the years in which you were together, right?
Right.
So it's important for people to know. Like you said, it's a shared family asset.
Yeah, and there are situations where somebody may have split up with somebody. Maybe they've made arrangements for, you keep the house instead of, taking any of my pension. There's things like that. So sometimes things like that, if you do have something like that in order where maybe an ex-spouse doesn't have entitlement to your pension, it's a good thing for us to have on file just in case something does happen in the future. But the main thing for that is in order for the plan to be involved in the division, it has to be set out specific in your separation order or court order.
Right. So you guys can answer those questions if somebody had them, but it's important that they involve you guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've dealt with it a few times.
A few times.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's standard forms and everything that need to be used.
Yeah.
So that's contributing to the pension and kind of how the investments work a little bit. And now, what if I want to self-contribute? Can I self-contribute to my
No, our plan is what's called a target benefit plan. So it's solely based on employer contributions, and that's in the trust agreement. That's, between the union, the trustees, Myra. That's
Okay.
how it's set out.
And then, every individual, based on their income, can contribute an amount, which our pension is part of, right? We've got a tax form at the end of the year.
Yeah, it becomes part of your pension adjustment.
Pension adjustments, right? And then that doesn't fulfill our entitlement, so individuals can also purchase RSPs, and they should talk to their accounting professional about that,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And that's mailed out to everybody, the statement every year and the tax form, right?
Yeah, so the pension adjustment is box 52, and those tax forms would come from your employer. So the employer will actually record what they actually sent the plan during the year.
Okay. Now, what are the requirements if if I move out of the country? Can I still collect a pension plan if I don't live in Canada?
Yes. Yep, the pension, that entitlement's yours. And actually, if you have a vested pension within the plan, even if maybe you take a management position and no more contributions come in, or even if you're what's called terminated vested, so that's having less than 300 hours credited or worked within a 4-year period, basically that pension just stops. So if you say it's September 30th, had 900 hours or $900 and didn't contribute into the plan anymore, that pension is still yours. Like, it sits there, and whether you move or...
Right. So you can collect it outside of Canada, and then you use the term terminated vested. So I'm a plumber working for a plumbing contractor. I serve my apprenticeship. I work 2 years as a journey person. I decide, I'm going to go into the movies. I'm going to be an actor. And I go and I try that for 5 years. So based on no contributions, that pension will terminate vest, and it'll be sitting there for me at age of retirement. Okay, what if I want to can I pull that money out if I want?
You can, when you reach the status of being terminated vested.
Okay.
Also, if you have less than 350 hours worked in 2 plan years, you have the option to request a statement to transfer the commuted value out. Or if you become expelled from the union from not paying dues, you automatically get that option as well once you reach the under 350 hours worked in 2 plan years.
Okay. So, a lot of crypto geniuses think they're really good investors, and we pay really good money for our consultants and stuff. But some people do choose to take their money out, and that's their right to do so. Now, same scenario. So now it's terminated vested. I decide to leave my money in the plan.
Right.
I won't get any more increases, though, if there's increases, right? Because I'm terminated vested. That's the current state of the trust.
Right now, if there was an increase, it would be, I guess, the trustees of the day to decide which categories of people would get that increase.
Right.
The other thing is if your actor returned back to 170 after becoming terminated vested, they would start a new pension.
Right.
And then when they went to retire, the 2 pensions would be joined.
Right. So in the past, that would have been a more difficult thing, because they would have had to do 10, 7, 5, and 2 years again. But now every hour works. So you can leave and you can come back, and at age of retirement, those will be combined.
You're automatically vested.
That's excellent.
The only thing I would probably point out is if you do receive what's called a termination benefit statement to transfer the commuted value out, the main thing is you have 180 days to elect that transfer from the date of the letter was sent. So that's within the plan document.
So you have to instruct where you want the money to go.
Yeah, so you can't, come back.
And you're saying this because people have asked to do that, and then they don't elect where they want the money to go, and then what happens?
It's expired, and then you're entitled to a monthly benefit.
Oh.
So the pension's still here, you just don't get the option to transfer it out again, and you do have to be under the age of 55 for that option.
So that scenario's come up a few times.
A few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long can I collect this pension for after I retire?
You'll collect it for lifetime, and then...
For lifetime?
For lifetime.
Like forever until I die?
Yeah, actually, when I was looking up just historical data a while ago, I think we had a widow who was 30, so her husband passed away quite early, but she's actually been collecting a monthly benefit since 1984.
So since 1984, she lost her husband, and because of the hours he contributed through the Hall, his widow is able to have a monthly benefit. That's pretty awesome.
And I think the other thing that's a little bit misunderstood, where someone that's active and working and passes away, there's sometimes some rhetoric out there that if they're not collecting their pension and they pass away, they're going to lose the pension. Nobody gets that. It stays in the fund, when in fact anything earned up to your date of death would be payable to your beneficiary.
To your estate, right?
Yeah, if you don't have a beneficiary, then it goes to the estate. So that money is being paid into the plan on your behalf and being taken care of by the trustees and the trust fund.
So it's safe to say that every hour that I work, that I put into the pension plan, is being put in there and is there for me whether I live or die. It's going to stay with my estate even if I pass away.
Yeah, and then when you go to retire, you'll have the options to elect,
as long as you don't try to retire after you're dead, because
that doesn't work out well.
That doesn't work well.
But even for a widow of a member that passes away, that widower, if the member passes away, the widower will receive her monthly benefit or his monthly benefit until they pass away.
Right. Wow, that's excellent. What about this new Bill C-30? You and I have had to deal with this quite a bit. Do you want to take a crack at that?
Sure. So Bill C-30 was legislated, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So we've known about Bill C-30 for, I think, since about 2017, that the federal budget, this was included in, and then they essentially had to write the rules around Bill C-30. So what Bill C-30 means is that for a member that is retired or over the age of 71, after the next collective agreement, so for the ICI, after April 2023, the plan will be prohibited, the pension plan will be prohibited from accepting employer contributions for a retiree or someone that's over age 71. So there's been lots of discussion about, well, what happens to these members and where should those contributions go and how will that work?
Now I'm 71 and I'm still working under this agreement.
Right.
And I'm getting $5.25 an hour, right? But you can't take it by law.
Yeah. Correct. So depending on what gets written into the collective agreement and what's negotiated, one of the options is that $5.25 being paid to the member as a wage, to the retired member as a wage.
Right.
So with that, we don't know how that will look until negotiations are complete.
Right. So yeah, May 2023, we'll see how that goes. We've tabled language similar to the language for the National Sprinkler Agreement. So the locals across Canada and the National Sprinkler Agreement agreed that those monies would go to the worker directly as wages. A couple anomalies on that is there's a second pension plan set up, but I think the best way is that it goes to the worker, and if they choose to do with it what they will. So, what if? And I guess we have the capacity. What if somebody turns 71 while they're already dispatched, while they're already contributing? So these are the.
So what we have set up in our system, and then CASA is the perfect example, and it's a little bit smaller group. So, hopefully by next year, we'll have everything streamlined for that. But how it is, or how we have it set up right now, is if we do receive pension contributions for someone that's working under the CASA agreement, our month-end process will pick them out.
We'll pick them out based on their age.
And we will be returning the funds back to the employer, because the employer is going to have to include that on their tax slip as income. So we can't just send a check to the member because it hasn't, the deductions haven't been removed from it. It all has to be returned back to the employer. We'll also send a copy of that letter to the member, alerting them that that's money owed to them as income.
Okay. All very simple stuff.
Very simple, yeah.
Nothing to it. I guess we kind of covered it. Is there is there anything that you'd like to mention? I mean, the idea here is just to maybe, give the members or anybody that's interested some information on the plan. So is there a question that maybe I didn't cover, or I have a couple fun questions after that, but.
Yeah, I think the main thing is all my colleagues, if anybody has a question, feel free to phone. You can.
So who do you have in the office or that helps and works with you there? So, is there somebody people should call in regards to the pension?
Yeah, with the pension, you should talk to Jamie, or
Jamie?
you can talk to me, Lisa. I'm always happy to talk to members because I think in my new role, I'm not as active speaking with members, and I kind of miss that part too. So
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I often get inquiries when things get a little muddy.
Yeah.
And just over the last few weeks, we've had a few interesting inquiries, and yeah, you were fantastic because you give the exact right answer, and it's very helpful, right? So I guess if anybody has any questions, they can contact you guys directly.
Yep, contact Jamie or I, and most of the ladies in the office can assist, or we'll put you in touch with somebody that can assist.
Okay, a couple more questions for you. So what's one of the main questions that you get about pension? Like what is the, if you could put a frequently asked question out there so that, the phone didn't ring.
Yeah, why don't I get more money into my pension?
Why don't I get more? Well, I guess that's a question for me.
Yeah,
so you can forward those ones to me.
Well, even when the employer is paying $5.25, why do I only get 4.5 cents? And I think for retirees, which Bill C-30 will eliminate that, but retirees that return to work were.
Yeah, the way that used to be is that when a member was on pension and they went back to work, their pension was suspended.
Right.
Right? And then it was recalculated at a huge cost to the plan. And then there were some other changes made. So Bill C-30 kind of changes things and makes them the same for everybody. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be good.
What's one of the without divulging any personal information, what's one of the most interesting stories or crazy questions that you've had? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
yeah, I can't even think it.
we can edit it. So
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, good idea. So it's better to say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here and for answering some questions. And
Yeah,
I'm
thank
sure
you.
we'll do it again. And I hope those that watched enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning into the Hall Podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes.